a comparison between 4 of the Good Ride favorite all mountain boards. With the exception of the Jones Mountain Twin, this year the Ultra Mountain Twin is a favorite, but they're very close, so it's good enough for comparison purposes, and maybe soon I'll have an Ultra Mountain Twin and then we'll update it. But overall, what did you say, Jimbo? It's like...
It looks like you're sitting in a hot tub surrounded by hot chicks.
Well then, okay.
Because those boards are sexy.
But no steam coming up, no after ride beverages. But no, what were you saying before? It was like, you're like, it's really hard to pick one.
Yeah, I mean, I would ride every one of these boards for different reasons.
Exactly, and it's like, they all have their own fun personalities. Let's start with the furthest over, the Rossignol 1 Mag. That definitely had the best edge hold, and it's quick edge to edge, but wasn't the quickest. You know, it's got the least camber of all the boards, and but it's especially the 156 for me, which is what we're riding. It was the most playful, the most buttery, but had the most edge hold, and it could still rail a turn, and it's got a good setback. It's a very diverse board. We're always kind of in between. Like the 59 would be a little better for you, Jimbo, but I like that small, and I like the 59 too, but I like that quick turn initiation, that playful feel. It's very easy to center up and ride switch.
I felt like it was the noodly of the three, of the four.
Yeah.
Noodly.
Most noodly, yeah. And then you have the West. I mean, this board is the only hybrid rocker board in this crew. And for a lot of all mountain riders, stability is pretty important. And a lot of times those hybrid rocker boards with the tip and tail so far off the snow are kind of like this, they feel like a skateboard with loose trucks, or like a board that kind of wants to spin on you when you don't want to spin. This doesn't do that at all. It's very stable and just right there with the others, and it's got so much camber in the tip and tail that it's just a joy to get out there and carve on.
Yes.
And
fact.
Probably one of my favorite for carving out of all the boards. Really solid edge hold, but really, the 1 Magtek's in its own world. The Jones Mountain Twin, I'd say it's second for edge hold, and the West is third, but a close second
to that Jones Mountain Twin?
Yeah, close third to the Jones Mountain Twin. And then the Yes Optimistic has the least edge hold of the crew, but it still holds pretty well. We were out in medium to firm snow, and so when we hit that kind of harder snow, it held its edge fine. It just really didn't want to rail into a hard.
It didn't make a pencil line. It made more of like a fingernail line.
Yeah.
Like a little wider.
Yeah,
of a line.
You couldn't really commit to the harder carving turns in these conditions, where with the other boards you could. This is quick edge to edge, but it doesn't have that like super turn, like circular turn, but it's a fun cut across carvy kind of turn that I like. And then this, out of all three, has the slowest turn initiation, but the most stable platform. It's the best cruiser. It's the one I want to be on a wide open run, making like wide turns.
Yeah, and if I was about 15 pounds heavier too, just feels like that.
Yeah,
that would be my jam.
It's got that like forgiving, aggressive stability. This is aggressive too, though. But this has a quicker turn. You can slap this back and forth. Now, as far as turn initiation goes, the Optimistic is the fastest. It really just slaps back and forth, edge to edge. It's just so much fun to make quick turns with. It's also probably, next to the 1 Mag, the most buttery and playful too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got the most pop, I'd say, of the three. Probably West is almost tied with it in terms of pop. And then this is a little less pop, and then this is even a little more less pop. Although with the Ultra Mountain Twin, there's a little more pop. They've got a little more snap in the board, and I like that. This also has the most camber. Now, in terms of powder, I'd say this is probably my least favorite powder, but you can set it back pretty far, and it's still very good, especially compared to like a lot of twins that they market as all mountain boards. This actually has I think a 0.6 of an inch, a little bit more than a half an inch setback on board. This you can get a little more. I think you can get closer to an inch on the board and set it back pretty far and get some really good directional float. This has got the best float, but it's the hardest to turn in the trees of all these.
That would be a great wide open powder bowl.
Wide open powder bowl. And this I would love in the trees out of all these boards. This would be my favorite in the trees, the Yes Optimistic, because it's so quick edge to edge. You could just get into all those tight spots and be totally comfortable. And you can set this back about an inch too on board, you know, only about 10 millimeters on the side cut, but who cares about the side cut and powder? So they all float pretty well. I'd say, you know, these two float a little less than this one, and this is kind of ahead of these. The Optimistic is kind of ahead of these two, but still a little bit behind the Jones, the, you know, Mountain Twin.
You just had a phone call from Hamster and from Sunshine on my shoulders.
Great.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, good times. But I'm glad to know people are calling when we're trying to help our readers. Thanks, Jim. All in all, I mean, they're all really fun boards, and they all have their own different personalities, and they're all very versatile for almost any type of condition. You could center all these up, ride them switch. I think this was my favorite to ride switch. The one Magtek was my second favorite, and then these kind of tied, you know, for third and fourth. But they're all very doable switch. You can get used to them. They're all pretty easy to center up. And you know, and then they can kind of double as free ride boards on those powder days when you really want to surf and you want some directional float, you know. Like if we're not all like Jimbo who rides switch and powder, you know, I like to set the stance back and float and powder, and so, you know, that's my take. Jimbo, do you have anything you want to add?
Not necessarily. Yeah, I guess so.
You want to get into the board jacuzzi?
Yeah, I'll get in here.
So which was your personal favorite?
My personal favorite in the bunch was it's hard to say.
I know, me too.
If I'm gonna haul ass in a wide open area on steeps, I really like this one, like on chair 2 there.
Yeah.
This one I had a great deal of fun on here. This one's just probably like my all-around favorite board out of the 4. As far as like getting some butter on, getting the noodle on, this thing was really, really easy to just get that thing up into the sky and just get on as little of the board as possible on the snow. That one was very flexy. This one flexy too, not quite as much as this one, but apples and oranges really. For carving and for riding switch, all of these boards were great. Like this one was just a little stiffer. It's not my flavor necessarily.
Yeah.
I like kind of more playful boards with lots of torsional twists and lots of flex.
Yeah, this is a little more friendly pointing it of the 4. It's not a pointer board, but it's more friendly, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, more friendly.
Yeah.
For pointing, but it's just not my style. I'm gonna go with Uno, Dos, Tres, Cuatro. My order.
Uno, right there.
Thank you.
Want that? Hell yeah. Yeah. Little product placement from Never Summer. Thanks.
This is sweet. This is very sweet.
And
I'm
yeah,
delighted to work with James and the Good Ride.
Well, thank you, Jimbo, and we're glad to have you. It's fun to ride with you. And you know, all these boards, it's really hard for me to pick a favorite. For me personally, I think the Optimistic is more my cup of tea, but that West is so good too. Like those are kind of my 2 favorites. But gosh, that Jones is fun too. The one mag is fun. It's like when it's harder conditions, I'd love to be on the one mag.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm riding big wide open groomers all day and making big turns, I want the Mountain Twin. If I have varied terrain, but I might see some powder, you know, if I can only take one board somewhere, this year it'd probably be the Optimistic. Because I love that quick turn initiation, and I love the butterability, and I love the pop of that Optimistic. But I could easily take the West too. I mean, it's kind of right now the way I felt it the day, it was a toss-up between the West and the Optimistic for me. And
they're all sexy. I want to take them all home. Huh,
yeah, that's why I have. You know, I love the diverse gear whoring of you know, this all mountain combo, and there are lots of other great boards, but these are our favorites, and this is our little comparison. A very long comparison, but it's a lot to talk about with 4 boards.